everybody, my name is Fatan Firdaus, and today I will be presenting about Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort. So, what is Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, you might ask? Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort is two video games developed by Nintendo for the Nintendo Wii. They were early on developed as a tech demo that demonstrates the capabilities of the Wiimote, which is the new controller for the Nintendo Wii that uses Motion Plus. But Nintendo sees potential in them and developed them into full-on games. These games take real-life sports, or a variety of them, and simplifying them and turning it into a video game. And they all use motion control to emulate the feeling of doing those sports. So, before we begin, I'll mention that this video will be separated into two sections, which is the first Wii Sports game and the Resort game, which I will be explaining the gameplay and putting on my own opinion, which includes usually the sound design, art direction, or the way it feels, and my personal opinion on it, of course. So, what do you do in Wii Sports first? By name, it's kind of obvious that you're going to play sports in it. So, for you to be able to play it, Nintendo developed a new avatar to manifest yourself into the game world, which is called Mii's, which came with the Nintendo Wii system as environment for players to express themselves or create users, usually, for the games. With these Mii's, you can play the games that consist of 5, which is tennis, baseball, boxing, bowling, and golf. You play usually by moving around the Wiimote, primarily by swiping and thrusting the Wiimote. They really try to make you feel like you're doing those certain sports, which I have to commend them. Like if you swing your remote around or you swing it around, in game, the racket will move around too, following your movements. So it gives you a layer of control. So what is my opinion? So let's talk about the sound design, art direction, and more. So, sound design and soundtrack wise, it's amazing for what it is. It's amazing. They've done a lot of work in it, and it makes the game much more enjoyable and memorable. The art design, it's pretty good too. It's simplistic, friendly, and welcoming. Nothing intimidating, and family-friendly. And now, the gameplay and the controls. The controls are simplistic, you might say, and sometimes inconsistent and not snappy responsive, but it serves the job done. And the gameplay, it's basically you're just playing tennis, golf, and those sports. The only gripe is the controls, the motion controls, because they are not as accurate as you'd hope to be. But for tech demo, this is surprisingly fun. Because this is supposed to tech demo, it doesn't offer that much. So after a few hours, the magic is gone. You just played it and you will go on with your life. It doesn't has any replayability value. And the gameplay is really connected to what you're doing, even though it's not as responsive as I said. Like if you swipe around your Wiimote like racket, it will act like one in the game, which is phenomenal for 2007. And interestingly, this builds connection, and sometimes disconnection for the inconsistency with the player. And my verdict is it's a really interesting game and it's really good. And now we're jumping to Wii Sports Resort. While the first game innovates the motion controls, which they just introduced it, Wii Sports Resort takes what works in the first game and innovates again on top of it. Because previously the motion controls just detects that you move it to a certain direction. It's just like left, right, forward, upward, or backwards. But now, with the Motion Plus add-on, which has a gyroscope technology which can determine how much it spun, how much it moves, it increases the motion capabilities. And now the gameplay. In Wii Sport Resort, you assert more control than ever, which give you more immersion in it. With the gyroscope on the Motion Plus, as I've described before, you can do more realistic, with quote quotes, and responsive movements. As example, when you point upwards, the sword will point upwards too. And when you move around the controller, the racket also moves around in much more various directions. Because the previous will just go right, go left. This can be like northwest or much more variety in movements. The game consists of swordplay, including duel, speed slice, and showdown, wakeboarding, frisbee golf, archery, basketball, table tennis, bowling, power cruising, canoeing, cycling, air sports, which includes parachuting, dogfighting, and piloting. And now we're jumping to my opinion. So in my opinion, this game is superior in a subjective and objective way, as it has much more things to do, has much more refined controls, and it's much more exciting in general. It has a similar sound design, similar art design or art direction, and it has everything similar except the controls and what you can play. So, in my opinion, this is an amazing great game, a great upgrade from the previous one. In my opinion, if you have a Nintendo Wii and the Motion Plus accessory, or you can play it through emulation, which you can use your original Wii remote and the Motion Plus accessory too, this is a high recommendation for anyone to play. And that's my presentation. Thank you for listening and watching it, obviously, my presentation. And forgive myself if I made any mistakes or anything related to that. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you.